Hey everybody, welcome back to the Sketch Adventure. On today's episode, we're going to be studying the next facial feature, the ears. This time around, I'm attempting to really simplify the shapes and values. My goal was to make as few shapes as possible while still making the ears look believable. Right now I'm laying in the different flesh tones while still trying to think about the major regions of the ear. Now that I'm done with this ear, let's take a break and briefly talk about a few simple terms. The ears are made up of three main portions, the outer, mid, and inner portion. The outer portion consists of the helix, lobe, and tragus. The mid portion consists of the antihelix and the antitragus. And the inner portion consists of the conch and the whole of the ear. In general, if I just keep in mind that there are three different portions of the ear, then that'll be enough information to keep in mind while I paint. Years ago, I struggled with the problem of consuming so much theory and knowledge, thinking it would improve my art, but in reality it didn't do anything. Take David Finch for example, a great comic book artist who doesn't know any of the muscle names, but draws them with great skill. Or Brad Rigney, an amazing self-taught digital artist who claims to know no theory, yet paints photorealistic illustrations regardless. At this point, I'm convinced that the maximum amount of theory an artist needs to know is just enough not to be hindered by a lack of knowledge. But based on what I just said, some people do fine without any. The tendency is to think that with more knowledge and theory, we'll become better artists, but in reality, painting's a visual language. We learn to speak our languages in natural ways by copying people who can already speak it fluently, and eventually we try to form our own words and stories. It would be quite unnatural to learn to speak a language by studying a dictionary. As you can see, I've now switched over to using a round brush, which regrettably gives me more precision than I would like. I find that when I give myself tools that allow me precise control, the paintings have less interest than if I'm using a larger flat brush. I'm always struggling to find a balance between control and looseness. With each one of these paintings, I'm mostly focused on the middle values and thinking about the different color shifts in the skin tones. Remember that these shifts are fairly subtle. One thing that helps me is having an average skin tone color that I can add a bit of yellow, red, or green to in order to maintain color harmony. I like the idea that with gouache you don't have as much edge control, so the focus is on making interesting shapes and colors. Once that's done, you can come back with a water brush for slight softening of edges, but only once the shapes are established. As with the previous videos, I'm returning to oil painting to do one last demo and apply what we've been talking about. Like I had mentioned in my thumbnail sketching video, it's always important to be able to think of what you're painting in just two value groups, lights and darks. The shadows on the ear and the background are grouped into the darks. Everything else falls into the light group. I generally don't like working on canvas because of how much texture and an overall lack of clarity it creates in the beginning of a painting. I tend to prefer working on smoother surfaces, like gessoed panels. They allow me to create clean and sharp brush strokes right from the beginning of the painting while still allowing for texture. However, I happen to have a lot of canvas and feel like I should get used to using what's currently uncomfortable for me. Just like in the gouache portion, I'm focusing on color shifts around the ear while describing the form with shapes. It's too easy to lose your shapes with oil painting and end up blending everything into a mushy mess, so I have to remain aware of this at all times. As usual, if you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. My next video will be focusing on painting the eyes, the last facial feature, until we move on to the complete portrait.